By 2026, the entire game of building wealth will be different. The old rules, they're already obsolete. A new blueprint is emerging, and you know what? It has very little to do with working harder, and everything to do with intelligent design. In this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what that blueprint looks like.
So let's just start with one number, 3. Why 3? Well, according to the latest wealth outlooks, the top 0.001% now controls 3 times more wealth than the bottom 50% of all humanity combined. Now, this isn't just a gap anymore. This is a complete divergence of economic realities. The blueprint we're about to unpack, it's about which side of that divergence you're going to land on.
And that brings us to the core idea, the one mindset shift that changes everything. As you see here, wealth in 2026 is a design problem, not a discipline problem. The old advice, just grind harder, put in more hours, that's a trap. The new strategy is about being an architect. It's about building systems that generate value for you, whether you're working or not. It's time to stop thinking about willpower and start thinking about design.
Now, this phenomenon has a name, the Great Concentration. You might have heard about a K-shaped recovery after the pandemic. Well, that wasn't a temporary thing. It's hardening into a permanent K-shaped economy. There are 2 paths splitting off from each other. And frankly, most of the career advice out there is pushing people down the path that's headed straight for a dead end.
So what's the engine driving this split? It's something we call the AI efficiency trap. We all hear about this multi-trillion-dollar productivity boom from AI, right? But for a huge number of professionals, AI isn't a ladder up. It's actually becoming a ceiling on their future growth.
And this chart right here shows you that trap in action. Look, almost every single company is using AI, but only 27%, that small slice, are actually achieving what's called decoupled revenue. That means they're growing their income without having to grow their headcount. The other 73%, they're just using AI to do the same old jobs a little bit faster, which traps their growth and the growth of everyone who works for them.
And the result of that trap is a process that economists are calling hollowing out. And listen, this isn't about robots on an assembly line. This is about the devaluation of the expert class. The very skills that used to guarantee a high-income career, things like financial analysis, coding, even consulting, they're being turned into commodities by AI.
The data couldn't be clearer on this. We are seeing a 50% task replacement rate for high earners, people in the 80th to 90th percentile. So think about that. If your entire financial strategy is based on selling your time and your expertise, you are now in direct competition with AI. And that's a competition that is very, very hard to win in the long run.
So this is what it looks like. These are the 2 sides of the new economy. On one side, you've got the compute owners. These are the people who own the infrastructure, the data models, the automated systems. They are the ones benefiting from that decoupling we talked about. And on the other side, you have the service layer. These are the people who are just using the tools to do the same old tasks, competing against millions of other people and AI itself, which just pushes their wages down, down, down.
Let's be absolutely clear. The path to real wealth isn't about getting good at using AI tools. It's about owning the output that those tools create. Using AI is very quickly becoming table stakes. It's the new baseline. It is not an advantage, it's a requirement for survival.
Which, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. If that traditional path of building expertise is being systematically devalued, what's the alternative? How do you escape the service layer and actually move towards sovereignty?
Okay, so the answer lies in a strategic framework called the Sovereignty Protocol. And this has nothing to do with working harder or learning another programming language. This is a fundamental shift in thinking, from participating in the service layer to actively building and owning pieces of the asset layer.
I'm going to say this again, because it is the single most important takeaway from this entire explainer. In an age of basically infinite, cheap, digital labor, your personal effort, by itself, is not enough. Trying to outwork an algorithm is quite literally a mathematical error. It's a losing strategy.
So, this protocol, it rests on 3 core pillars. First, something called asymmetric ownership. Second, a really simple filter for every decision you make called the 3-question pause. And third, learning to leverage the one advantage humans still have, long-term vision. We'll call it the compounding of intent. Let's break each of these down.
First up, asymmetric ownership. Your number 1 goal has to be disconnecting your income from your time.
What does that mean? It means you prioritize equity over salary. It means you build automated niche systems. It could be a media channel, a software tool, anything, where the cost to produce one more unit is basically zero. The whole point is to shift from being the labor to being the owner of the output.
Okay, second, you have to defend your capital like a fortress. So before you make any significant purchase or investment, you run it through this simple filter, the three-question pause. Number 1, does this asset protect me against automation? Number 2, is this a one-time cost or is it a recurring liability that's going to bleed me dry? And number 3, the most important one, does this purchase buy back my time or does it demand more of it? If the answers aren't right, that capital needs to go somewhere else. Period.
And the third and final principle is something called time arbitrage. Look, we live in a world that is obsessed with speed with instant results. In that environment, human patience becomes a superpower. It's a rare and incredibly valuable asset. AI can operate in microseconds, but real durable wealth, that's built over years, sometimes decades. And that kind of long-term strategic thinking, that's something an algorithm just can't replicate.
So, we've walked through the problem, we've laid out the protocol, but there is one final variable that holds this entire blueprint together. It's the one true asset that AI can never, ever replicate.
This quote really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. It's the new definition of wealth. It's not about the number in your bank account. It's about how much of your own life, your own autonomy, you've managed to buy back from the system. True wealth is freedom. It's the freedom to decide where your time and your attention goes. That's the real prize.
Because ultimately, the path forward is clear. The protocol we've discussed is straightforward. The only variable left in this whole equation is you. The choice between staying in the service layer or building your piece of the asset layer, well, that's entirely up to you.